Okay, guys, there's been a lot of supposition about what's going on out there related to yesterday's interview. So we thought, let's have a round table. We'll bring people on who watched the whole interview and we'll all pull together our thoughts and talk about it in chat. It's going to be wild. We're going to have some patience with one another, but it's going to be fun. I'm Emma.
I'm KK.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Newt.
And we are Treasure Hunt with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to try to add Scott right now. We've had some little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully he'll pop on and say, I'm Scott. We'll see. Going to try it out. Can you talk?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Okay, guys. Just so you know, we're also going to be adding Rob Zeal in a few minutes. And what we're trying to do is like we said, we're going to try to go through this with all the people who we know actually watched the whole. Oh, here he comes. Here comes our guy. There he is. Oh, shoot. I pulled him down. Hold on. I got to add him back up. Rob Zeal in the house. Okay, so.
I made it.
So I think first thing we should do is address the elephant in the room. Newt, why don't you introduce yourself to the whole community?
Froggy couldn't make it, so I'm Newt. I'm filling in, but he told me all the secrets.
Oh gosh, I'm really enjoying your mullet, Newt. I'm enjoying your mullet. It's fantastic. So, like I said, guys, we're gonna bring it on here, and what we're gonna try to do is talk through the questions that happened in the interview, because what we're finding is that Sandal is going to put up the video. She's absolutely going to do it. They took camera shots and angles from like 6 different angles. I could be lying about the number, but not intentionally. Many different angles, we're going to call it. She's trying to figure out what the best way to do it is, and so that she's put it up without having to edit it. What she doesn't want is for it to appear chopped in any way. Okay, so Scott, can you mute when I'm talking if you don't mind, please? Because I can hear myself again through your computer. So there's that. So she's trying to figure out which way is the best way to bring it all in line so everybody can see it. Well, I was on her coffee talk show this morning, and let's be honest, guys, we're all excited. Maybe we're getting a little more aggressive than we should be. We need to give it a little bit of patience and grace. She's going to get it to us when she can. And we thought people were feeling like they didn't know, so we're going to come to you. We're going to talk about what we heard, what we know, and even Jess and I had differences of opinion. So let's jump in and see where we are. So we have some stuff. The first thing that happened is right out the gate, Blubhouse said this, and I'm going to put it up for everybody. Let's see if this has anything to do with our treasure hunt with us. Was just watching Calazar's 2022 video interviewing Jay and Cynthia about boots on the ground. Everyone should listen to that. He says about national parks and the loopholes he found. Okay. Hey, that's great stuff. Yesterday, they didn't talk about national parks, but they did talk a little bit about BLM roads, but not necessarily national parks. We will I love the opportunity to go look at anything. Thanks for letting us know about it. I guess we'll start. Let's go ahead and let's go around the room. And why don't we just each pick kind of, let's say everybody just grabs a question and talks about it. You want to start with one? Listen, I know, look at Jess. She just pulled out her notebook. I just watched it. Jess, I can say, I just know your face, friend. Oh my gosh. Jamtoft has entered the chat. Which means Jam's watching. So we better he's going to write us all up. Hi, Jam. Okay, Jess, why don't you start us off? Maybe talk about the one question that you thought was super important. Would that be helpful?
I don't know if it'll be helpful to you guys, but I'm happy to start off. The animals. The animal that he said he saw that he'd never seen before, and he was shocked to see it in the wild. That just, to me, goes like all different kinds of places. So of course we were all immediately diagramming animal regions and which animal lives here and doesn't live here. So I don't know how deep you want me to dive right off the bat, but that was one that I thought was super interesting.
I thought that was pretty cool too. Someone in our group, just so you know, is listening probably on their phone and their camera. I would mute your phone so it's not receiving the feedback. That's what's giving us the feedback. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so loved it. So then you saw Cynthia jumped in and said, well, he showed me a picture of a Wolverine. Who saw that? Anybody see that?
Well, actually, had talked to Cynthia earlier that night, and I was, because it was an unrelated question. I just asked her something about, and she hadn't seen the show. So I kind of relayed, some of what I thought were the big questions, and I mentioned the animals things, and she right away said, "Oh, it's I think it's this," and she said that he had, I guess, at one point, kind of like quizzed her, like, "Oh, do you know what this animal is right here?" That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, like they were just joking. He was joking with her, but he did
Yeah,
have a picture. I mean, Wolverines are pretty rare.
yeah,
Hairless cactus. Just so you know, we don't have the exact questions and the exact answers. All of us watched the same show. We're going to do our best to give you some information because people were really in it. They wanted to hear information about what was said. And we're going to have some really good patience with one another today as we talk through these things. If this is not what you're looking for, I totally understand if you want to drop off. Okay.
The question was pretty broad, wasn't it? Just did you see any animals while you
Yep.
were hiding the treasure? That's the
Right.
question I remember.
Right, right. And I thought what was really interesting is that here he's out hiding his treasure that he's worked on his hunt for so long, right? And he sees an animal he's never seen. So, I mean, we talked about what does that eliminate immediately? Well, we all know he's seen a buffalo. We also know he's seen a cow and a dog, which would have been hard to like decipher anyway. But he's
definitely
clearly seen,
grizzlies.
I'm sorry,
He's seen grizzlies. He's talked about how he's seen
grizzly
grizzlies.
bears, brown bears,
Porcupine, badger.
porcupines and badgers. He's seen elk and he's seen buffalo. So like then it was kind of like you start narrowing it down. It's like where did we get? And I'd love to hear the thoughts. What does everybody else on the panel think about the opportunity that it would be a Wolverine? Does anybody have any thoughts on what Cynthia brought forward?
Be extremely rare to see one for anybody. It's not a very common animal to see. So you'd be kind of shocked that you've seen one. So that definitely could be it. Some of the other things, a golden eagle, I guess they're pretty rare to see out in nature. Much more less common than bald eagle. So that would be potentially something.
Right. Blubhouse says that with U.S. Wolverine range is only Idaho, Western Montana, and Yellowstone Park in the U.S. That's very interesting. I did not know that. And somebody else said that it could be nocturnal. Tracy Morris said a nocturnal animal. But I think the thing is it's like I don't disagree with you. It turns out I don't have a treasure. Don't be shocked by that. So it certainly could be almost any animal out there, but and like adding that nocturnal part, like why would you see it if you're out during the day, or did he do it early in the morning? And maybe that was the reason that could be it as well. But to Jamie's point, Jamie says, that would eliminate some significant states. That's certainly true. And I think that's why he punted. Okay. And then Michael Altman said coyotes, and Doug said, I don't know how to say this word. Codamundi? I'm just butchering that, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what that is or where you'd see it, but I mean, I've never seen one. I've never even heard of one until now. But a lot's going on with this. And so I think that as we continue to work through things and stuff like that, anybody else have any thoughts on the animal?
I'm still voting for Roadrunner just because he mentions it so many times in the book.
Yeah.
I think it would be so funny if he saw one.
Oh my gosh, right? That would be so funny. Hold on, what is this here? Oh my gosh, Mr. Dallas, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to miss. Mr. Dallas, you gave us an awesome super sticker. I don't see a question associated with this. I apologize. Without Jam here, I'm kind of flubbing this, but I'm doing my very best. Thank you so much. And then, oh my gosh, All Dom Day, $9.99 for Froggy's hairstyle. I think that's what he paid for this cut.
I'm loving that haircut.
I really want to put this on the screen and it won't let me put it on there, and I don't really. Oh wait, here we go. This is why I'm in the wrong spot. Thank you so much. That's hilarious. I love the haircut. Froggy, what about you? What was a significant question you thought was important?
Well, real quick. So as far as the animals go, I don't know why I lean toward bird. I just, I don't know. In my head, critters are shy. I don't know if Justin carrying a lot of weight is going to be sneaky. It feels like he's making noise. He's a little gimpy. I just picture whatever animal it is a bird. I don't hate the Wolverine. There's a lot of cool things about it. If he remembered that he told Cynthia about the Wolverine, then is this just a hint? Like, I know Cynthia's going to say it, so let me just say I can't say it, knowing she's going to say it. or did he forget about the Wolverine? I don't know. There's some mind games there. But yeah, for some reason, I think a bird is
You're
what
thinking
the
a
animal
bird.
is. Yeah.
Doug is saying, has he seen a Gila monster? I didn't read that anywhere in the book that he's seen a Gila monster. Anybody know about that?
I don't think I've ever heard of a Gila monster.
Gila.
A Gila? Am I saying it wrong? That's of course.
Gila.
That's, and then
Gila.
and then Mr. Underhill says pronghorn. Pronghorn's on the wall in the Netflix. But wouldn't that mean that he's seen it before?
Everywhere
he's-
in Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a common one.
I
Okay,
didn't
that's
say
good.
everywhere, but they're migrating west every year. So he would have seen one in Montana, I would guess.
This is another one too. Maybe it's the golden frog, like the one in the corner of the screen. Also known as the newt.
The
Totally
blonde.
funny. So funny. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, there's so many things that it really could be, right? I mean, without confirmation, we now, an antelope, someone says, a horned owl, Gila. Okay, it's pronounced Gila. Okay, sorry about that. And Michael Altman says it's the fastest bird in the world, or fastest bird in the world. Hooli says, if it isn't in the book or the poem, is it folly to exclude an area? Ooh. Folly to exclude an area. Oh.
I mean, this could be my confirmation bias here speaking, but what
I mean, I
about
love confirmation
or
bias.
a condor in the wild? You know, they've been being reintroduced. You know, in California. You know, I'm all about California. But I thought about that or something, or even like I think someone mentioned a bald eagle. I know bald eagles aren't uncommon, but someone like me, you know, I like to go out to the mountains at times, but I've never seen a bald eagle in the wild.
Oh, really? I mean, we were in Alaska, so we
Yeah,
saw
we
them
saw
in
them in
Alaska.
They're everywhere in Montana too.
And they're everywhere in Montana. Okay, that's good to know.
You can't be on the river without seeing one. So if you fish, you definitely see them all the time.
Oh, that's, again, there's such an advantage, the fact that you've got that Montana background, like none of us really know, because I mean, not none of us, but many of us may not have as much knowledge of this because, we go to Montana, we've been hunting in Montana, but I mean, you literally live there. Jamie says the condor is interesting. And the condor was Jack's Reddit username. Oh goodness, holy!
I see you, Jane. See you.
And then Travis says something interesting. He says Justin was using a Fenn hint. I don't know what that means, but I really like it. I mean, you're welcome to expand in the chat, Trav, and see what goes on there. And then so like the reality is that there's a lot of animals, and to Rob's point, we don't want to get stuck in confirmation bias, but I think that if you're in an area that doesn't have an animal that's relatively unique, is that a good word to use for that? Unique? Or any kind of, I mean, obviously I would like it to be a chupacabra because it makes it a little bit easier to figure it out. I'm okay with the Wolverine too. That's definitely limits things, right? But he definitely was not, I mean, you can see the moment that he's like, I'm not going to answer that, but I did see an animal I'd never seen before. And I thought that was kind of cool. East side of
The
the Sierra.
Wolverine would really limit it. I mean, because you're talking about like really high elevations too. They
Right.
generally live above what, like 8,000 feet elevation. Right. So you're actually limited quite a bit if it's actually that one.
Okay, so also Addie said that there is Wolverine. Hold on, why is my phone not working? I think my phone died. That explains a lot. Okay, hold on.
Did anyone get the feeling that when he was expressing what animal he saw, it was more like he was surprised to see it there? Not so much that he was surprised to see it, but he was surprised to see it in that location.
Yes, I felt that too.
Definitely.
It seemed like kind of both. Like he'd never seen it in his life, and also he was kind of like, what is this doing here?
Right. Hold on. Just so you know, Travis, my phone is rebooting. Sorry about that. It's been a long day.
Oh.
I'm like, why won't this open? Okay, so someone says it's an ermine. And Gold Funder Matt says that he's on board with that thinking as well. I just think I think we have to keep an open mind. But I mean, I'm about this, and KK and I were talking about this earlier today. It's like, I mean, I feel like we're kind of on clue overload in some ways right now, right? Like there's so many clues you can't be sure what is a clue and what isn't a clue. And so now I find myself trying to like kind of reduce my clue square footage, if you will. It's got to fit in my kitchen, right? And so I'm trying to find ways to exclude as much as include. I guess I just want to kind of tone it down. I mean, what are your thoughts on that while I try to get my phone open and see what Travis has sent us? Anybody?
So
You guys can just talk.
I'll go ahead and chime in really quick. The newt is never shy of stepping out there. So the newt is thinking that there was kind of the last week or so, like it had kind of like died down a little bit, like super quiet, chill vibes in the chat. Maybe this was like not a planned sit down, but something that came up. Justin saw the opportunity and he said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just throw a little more gas on the fire right there and make sure they keep pushing all the way. Who knows? Maybe the season's closing, so he wants one final push, or maybe just trying to keep up that excitement. Either way, it seems the timing seems a little fortuitous.
I agree. I think that Justin's done a really good job keeping the engagement up. Every time it maybe seems to peter out, like Newt was saying, there's a Q&A or a Discord chat or something to keep us all excited, drop little breadcrumbs along the way, give us things to discuss heavily for days and days.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
What is
Oh, is that
Is it
an
a
anteater?
badger?
A Wolverine?
Oh, it's Wolverine. Okay. So I got Travis's text
No,
and he
Colt.
and he sent me something called Forrest Gets Mail 23, and it says Johnny and Donna were fortunate enough to experience something very rare in the Rockies. I have spent a lot of time there and have never been so lucky. Maybe next time. Dear Mr. Fenn, we returned today from our most recent boots on the ground and wanted to tell you about a very exciting discovery. While we were in the wood yesterday, this was the woods, Donna and I encountered a fully grown Wolverine. As a wildlife biologist, research scientist, I can assure you that this is an incredible experience, something that is too rare to even consider happening by chance alone. The chase put us in the right spot at the right time, and we will cherish this marvel gaze forever. Donna found a newspaper article that last year that details the discovery of wolverines in the Wild River Range for the first time in over a century. There is also a short video in the article. Here's the link. We anticipated being able to go straight to the spot that we had an eye on since last summer to search for indulgence. Unfortunately, foot travel became too dangerous and we were forced to turn back after only getting 1/3 of the way across the range. We're planning to return as soon as conditions improve. Sincerely, Johnny and Donna. So there's a lot of supposition, right? Okay. Boom. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a lot of supposition. Is like, is there a direction or a tonality that Justin's using that's in alignment with the Fenn hunt, right? People are saying, well, Fenn said 200 feet, 200. What is it? Gosh, I'm going to butcher this. What do you say? Fenn said someone had been within 200 feet, and now we've been within 200 feet of the checkpoint. Things like that. So there's like these bridges between both Fenn and Justin's hunt. And so that the Wolverine would be an example of that. That makes complete sense now, Travis. Any thoughts on any of that, guys? He's a chaos creator, Casey says.
Hey, KC. I think that's very interesting, especially considering, those who probably heard me talk on Discord before, how I'm a fan of the fan parallels, a lot of interesting things about that, about the Wolverine. I didn't know even Wolverines were even in the Western U.S., but yes, I'm not a very good reader, so I gotta sharpen that up. There's another.
You weren't, but you are now. You read books.
Yeah, I'm learning. I think I've learned more in these past 4 months than I did in 4 years at high school.
Right? And about how words matter, right? Words matter. And
Yeah.
Beehive Queen says, can you clarify when and where Justin saw the animal? Was it while he was physically hiding the treasure or on his trips?
He said on that day. He didn't specify, but he said like on that day, I did see an animal.
I think her question was while you were hiding the treasure, but that still obviously could be open to interpretation as he did this big long journey and dropped it off somewhere. I mean, would you count that as while you were hiding the treasure, you saw the animal? I mean, kind of opens it up more than I like, but.
Travis, thank you so much for posting it and thank you for sharing it. I really appreciate all you do for our community. And Goldfinder said that he actually saw a badger for the first time this year in Montana and felt safe enough to be on a four-wheeler. Hope it didn't bite you on the butt. You know, but 4 trips, Mr. Underhill points out 4 trips. He doesn't say which trip. It's a great point. But I think that to Jess's point, it's like, you know, the question was pretty clear, but I think that it was very interesting the way he answered it.
I really like what Scott brought up about on that day, and I can't wait to get the transcript and get an exact listen, because if he kind of alludes to one day, there's been a lot of questions of, did all this happen in one day, or was it spread out over several trips, several days? I think that could give some pretty good insight about how that happened.
Yeah, if he was thinking about when he was hiding the treasure, does that mean it was all on one day, that day?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because he actually told us on our interview that he went out, it was 4 trips.
Well,
And
yeah.
until this moment, I had always assumed that it meant 4 trips to the car to get the treasure. And now I'm starting to realize that that assumption rule applies. And I may be assuming things I shouldn't be assuming. It's a great backup question. And I had posed this to the group yesterday, and I said, you know, I think that what we should start doing is collecting a database of questions and really refining the way we ask the questions. Because one of the reasons he has to punt is we've asked some of the same questions over and over and over in a way that he doesn't feel like he can answer them, right? So we have to adjust the way that we're asking certain questions in hopes of getting an answer or making a question answerable, if that makes sense. So I hope that everybody, I'm going to ask Jim to make, or maybe somebody else, because I'm not really good at this part, to make a room where we add questions so we can start talking about the ways to ask those questions, then maybe create a database about it, you know?
Yeah, I think you make a, oh, sorry, Mr.
No. Go ahead, Rob Zeal. Go ahead.
Pardon me. Love the hair, man, Mr.
Thanks.
Froggy Newton right here. Yeah, I think that is an excellent point as far as the questions go, because I noticed, like, you know, Justin being, you know, with his tech background, you know, he's all about data, you know, so to me, I see a man who's all about technicalities. You know, you got to be very specific with your questions. If you give him a question where you're going to give him a way to sort of technically give you an answer that technically answers what you're trying to, you know, what you're saying based on your words, you know, I think he's going to find that loophole, you know, just to be a little playful, maybe, you know, it's not like anything to be he's not trying to deceive, but he's gonna, you know, it's a sort of a game of wits, maybe you could say, but I think, you know, technicalities plays a big part, you know, being specific as far as, you know, and I think that's how you kind of can get across to him, or sort of give him a remove the opportunity to have an out as far as answering.
I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, he says things like, if you knew what I know, that you'd understand why that question doesn't make sense. And so that makes perfect sense. I think that we should probably, we've talked about the animal. It's Casey says, yes, like leaving out assumptions, like where someone specified the 7 or 8 or any number, specific numbers, the way it forces him to give more information that is specific. So what he said in that is, they asked how many clock times, 7 or 8, and he said, the lower the number, the better. And that's how I heard it. How about everybody else? How did you guys hear it?
Yes, yeah, that's what I heard. The lower number, the better. And I think maybe an important point about this question for people who didn't see the interview was earlier in the interview, somebody asked, I think for just more hints on the cipher. And you guys can chime in on this because I don't remember the exact question, but he said he's considering to give us more clarification later. And then he kind of referenced while answering this question, maybe that this was the clarification. But that was a little bit fuzzy. And again, I'd love to go back and hear the exact words. But yeah, when they said like 7 or 8 clock times and the lower the better. The way he said lower,
the lower the number, the better.
I'm interpreting it as fewer, but I know some people were saying had 419 and 420, we should go with 419. Or
Right.
yeah, so that's a really big difference.
It is interesting though how our community can hear all like, and that's why we have 6 people on a panel tonight, right? Because we have 6 people who watched the same interview and could have potentially all heard something different. And then now you go out into Discord where people are getting information from other people, and there's the position that there's a possibility that I think less than 8, and other people think less than 420 or like 419, and it's just very interesting the way we all hear and interpret his words, right? Who else has another question you want to discuss? Okay, I'm not sure how nice this is. Let's talk about what this question means. Justin is the AI of this hunt. We are the community that doesn't understand the answers because we didn't really understand the question. We are the rats and need to figure out how to ask. Maybe a little harsh, maybe a little extreme, but I don't disagree. I mean, that's part of it. Like I said, we've got to start to find a way to collect questions and then break them down into a way that they can really kind of be answered properly. Because we're getting a lot of the same answers because we're asking a lot of the same questions, right? I think that's fair.
This so this question right here makes me think of 2 or 3 phrases. The first where Justin talks about with AI trying to design a game for a super intelligence. That first statement he made, I believe in Dylan. And then the second thing it calls to mind is with the rats and the AI and the super machine is Hitchhiker's Guide, right? I think a lot of us pick up on that. And then the third is the feeling of maybe a little bit of frustration of being a mouse trying to get the cheese and hitting wall after wall after wall. So maybe that's where a little bit of frustration is coming through. And I see they just typed in not harsh. They're just using
I
Justin's
totally
analogy.
forgot that he had made the reference, and I'm gonna warn you. Let me apologize to everybody. I'm on 2 hours of sleep, so please forgive me. But again, I just wanted to make sure we brought people information when they felt like they needed it, because there's so much going on out there, and so I'm so sorry. You're right. I completely forgot about that. Okay. Yeah. I mean. Okay. Cheryl wants Jess to know that Jess helped her with a great breakfast spot in Missoula.
Oh, hi. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, that restaurant's always awesome.
And I just want to agree with Sneaky on. Oh, Map, I got the wrong one. I want to agree with Sneaky on this. Every time Froggy talks, I just want to die laughing. Or Newt talks, every time Newt talks. So funny. Okay. So let's talk about this. So let's talk about the Cipher because you brought it up. And he says still no Cipher solve out there, right? And he's actually getting to the point that he kind of wants to say something to kind of put it to bed, right? To kind of help people, because it really is just a nod to the container and like how it's kind of sending people down that direction. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I do want to shout out what Mushi said, so maybe we can go back to it. Did you see what Mushi put?
Which thing?
She said, let me scroll up here. Did the statement about him
not.
her. You see it?
Yeah, this one?
Maybe next we could talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about that one next because I actually know why this happens. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. But with the nod to with the Cipher being the nod to the container and the fact that it's just, he feels like every time he says something about it, he thinks he's making it more clear, and it's as clear as mud, right? And I just find that very interesting. It's like, when is he going to talk about that, right? And what is he going to help? What is he going to say about it? I don't know. I was just curious other people's thoughts on it.
Well, I think in general, a lot of the interviews he gives afterwards, people are like, "Oh my God, he just blew up my solve." It's not just the Cipher when he does an interview. It's a lot of different things that kind of shake things up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's actually really, really true. I can't even tell you the number of people who say things like, "Well, now I've got to start all over." And I mean, he's been a hunter. He's hunted for 10 years. He understands exactly how it feels when you start over. And there's sometimes when that feels really good, right? You're like, okay, well, I can just put that away and I can move. I can get out of Idaho, is how he said, and when Forrest shut Idaho down, right? I can get out of Idaho and I can go look where the treasure potentially is. But there's also that sensation when you don't feel that, when you feel deflated and like, well, am I an idiot? But I think the one thing all of us can agree on is that it's very easy to find a few things and then add other, like few clues that take you to another clue, and like start adding all the clues up, all the clues together to get you there. And it becomes almost a cycle of confirmation bias. You can find it anywhere, right?
So Emma, I have a thought on the cipher that I would love to hear other people's thoughts on, and a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this, but because we've been looking at the clock times so much, but my theory is that the clock times would not be part of the cipher because they could have been cut. And so if he was using the clock times for those, he would be taking a risk of not having a cipher for us. So to me, I won't let myself use the clock times because it seems like it has to be something that he for sure had control over, like the book.
I totally agree with that, Jess. That's what I was on that line of thinking for so long, because he didn't have control over it. But after, I guess, until after the comment that he made yesterday, where it seemed like possibly he was alluding to the clarity he was alluding to earlier was to do with the clock times. Now that's when I am thinking I have to start all over, and maybe it is the clock times, and that's just why there's multiple times that they're shown, and that's why we need to go with the lower number.
So it's when you hear the lower number, you're not thinking less than 7. You're thinking 419 or 305.
No, I'm thinking fewer.
Fewer,
fewer
okay.
numbers, and they're shown. You see the same time multiple times, and so you don't need to count those more than once. You just count those once. That's just my interpretation since yesterday. But
no, I think there's some. I mean, that's my one exception I would make almost is the 419, because he used it so much that it would almost be impossible. I mean, if they chopped the time, they would be chopping half or more of his footage. But some of the ones maybe that don't show up that much, maybe we just toss those. But I could see using 419. Like that one would have almost been impossible to not have in there. So
well, and he confirmed that while it is a working clock, there was he said that it was uncanny that it wasn't moving, and that's kind of a JP go-to, right? That isn't that uncanny? Yeah, it is uncanny as a matter of fact. Yeah, for sure.
I'll say on the clocks real quick. I do agree with Jess about them not being the clock times not being the cipher, but it's really tough when he brings up a topic and then brings up another one right after, so it makes you think they're together. Right. He does that several times. Technical clue, and then cipher talk, and then checkpoint talk. So you're like, wait, are they together? Right. It's tough.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Oh man, Froggy, that wig keeps getting me in the voice, dude. I love it. Stand character till the credits roll, right?
I like the shirt the best.
Oh gosh, you guys are so crazy. The hot dog. Oh my gosh, the raw dog. We'll get to that one. We gotta wait a second. I'm gonna lose it.
If I can just like chime in a little bit too, with kind of piggyback off of what Froggy was saying about how he describes the cipher. I think one of the things that stuck out to me in the beginning was the way he referred to it as a cipher of sorts.
Of sorts, I like that too. A cipher of sorts.
Yeah, that sort of stuck out to me. So that and this is just in my own thinking and how I interpret things. I felt like, all right, if it's a cipher of sorts, why not just say it's a cipher? And so I sort of right away rolled out sort of the advanced ciphers, like like Caesar ciphers and the Lewis Carroll ciphers. I don't know much about ciphers other than if it's a rap cipher, different. But these ciphers, no. But it made me wonder, could it be possible that he created his own sort of cipher? If you look in the book, the only cipher he describes in the book is the cipher that Fenn used when leading to the iron pipe, talking about his stained trousers or something. I don't know the exact wording on it, but so don't quote me. But so it made me think, could it be that there is another Fenn parallel here, where he's sort of tip to the hat to Fenn, and the cipher isn't really something that we're trying to decipher in the poem. Well, you said it's not in the poem, but we look at the clock times and all these different things. We're using numbers. Could it be something as simple as a section of a story? One of the chapters, one of his stories. So I started, sort of looking for odd words, odd descriptions, odd analogies, patterns like that. when it comes to trying to figure out maybe what it is, or maybe something that similar to the way Fenn wrote his, and that's just something that I've sort of been working on.
Well, I agree with you. And I also think it's important to note that he keeps saying that the cipher isn't really super significant, that it's just a nod to the container. But if you're out searching for treasure and you know what a container looks like, doesn't it make it a little bit easier to find it, right? And so it's like, I'm like, all of a sudden that becomes infinitely more important to me. I want to just address Aldom Day's question. Were the questions Sanders, or were the questions Sanders, or were the questions coming from? So Sandal had her own stack of questions, some that she created herself, some that people had sent to her. And then additionally, they took about 6 to 8 questions from the chat towards the end. So that's where the questions came from. And then there was another thing. What if the nod is the clue? We have to see someone nod, so it's letting us know it isn't buried, but still in a place we need to figure out how to see. Listen to Froggy. He's like grabbing his wig and going for it. I mean, that's fantastic. Okay. I'm really loving, I'm going to call you Waterkeeper because I have no clue how to say that first word. Okay, let's come down here and look at it. So I think that all that's kind of really, I think when you're talking about the container, I think it's, we keep saying, oh, well, it's not important. Or people are like, it's super important. For me, knowing what I'm looking for, I think makes it a little different, right? We as humans nod to each other. This is so
Don't forget
true.
Mushi.
And Mushi, hold on, I'm gonna grab you, Mushi. I don't know why it's moving really quick, guys. I do apologize. Hold on, I gotta go back and find Mushi. What did it say? Do you know? How far back was it?
She wanted to know about the hot springs, and you said you were gonna say something.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Okay, so hot springs. Here's what I know about the hot springs. And guys, let's hold the chat. Don't say anything for just 1 second because I don't want it to go by. So I don't remember the days of the week, but when the last time, either the last time or the time before, when I was maybe it was 2 times ago, I was there, we met Corey. And Corey goes to the hot springs every day. And Sandal says that. She's like, I met Corey first. And he owns a Duckworth store that sells wool. It's the best. I got a Duckworth jacket. I love it. But like, if you follow him on Facebook, he's got like every day he posts a picture of Montana in some way. It's like the most beautiful photography. He does literally every kind of job you can imagine doing. He's done it all. He's been an actor. He's a ski instructor. He does everything. But the man,
He's got a fort.
He's got a fort. If you've ever driven up to Sawtooth, in Polaris, there's a fort when you turn to go towards the Sawtooth trailhead. And that is Corey's. He's a very unique individual, very artistic, super articulate. But every night he goes and gets a swim. He takes a dip. And so we were talking about that. I'm like, oh, that's just so crazy. Jam, did you just say like and subscribe? You crazy man. But he's like, I'm like, it's so crazy that someone would go up in there and swim every day. Like it's just like a community pool, but it's like, he was explaining to me, it's like minerals and stuff like that. And then Justin goes to me afterwards. He goes, but the reality is they drain those pools on certain days, and then they add water. So depending on what day you're going into that pool, you may be sitting in like a week's worth of filth. And so I think once you start to think about it like that, I think that may lead to the reason that maybe he's going a little less often. But yeah, so I think that's certainly possible. Huli's asking, was Cynthia present? Cynthia was not present at the interview. The interview was just Justin and Sandal. And I don't believe that she was able to attend watching it live as well. I would have invited her to come speak with us tonight, even though she probably wouldn't have done it, but I would still tried. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. How heavy is the treasure? How old is the carrier? Your boy, Roy Boy? I'm not sure. And that question wasn't asked. I would think that that's maybe something we should put in there to ask in the future.
We said 60 pounds.
Well, he does say 60 pounds, but he says, how old is the carrier? It's like, is it how old is the carrier, like the container of the carrier or the person carrying it? Because Cynthia also asked, could a person her age carry it? Okay, and then Jamie says, the type of container can tell us a bit about the weather in the location. And that's also hugely significant and why Cipher may be a little bit important, right? Okay, so I'm thinking maybe we move on to another question. Does anybody else in the panel have a question they want to talk about?
I thought his response to the question about the bride being alive was very interesting.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yes.
Certainly sparked a bit of debate immediately, right? Immediately. Go ahead, talk about it, guys. I'm glad to listen.
Well, his response was it depends on how you define alive. Is ultimately, I think, what his response was to that. That leaves a lot for interpretation.
It was kind of funny too because people heard or read that response and went to like completely different camps, which was because my first thought was that means that not someone, it's not a person, it was never a person, it's not a rock. Like it kind of narrowed it down to things that weren't people or inanimate objects. But other people read it as like, I don't remember their interpretation because it wasn't my interpretation, but other people had the exact opposite direction.
Right.
So maybe other people on here had that opposite interpretation from what I thought.
Right. What about you, KK? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it could be a few things that got me thinking about characters, or like any female depictions or things in paintings, statues, where it's a female personification, but it's not a person that was ever alive, but it's a character that the character's not dead. I think it could be legend or lore. There's also been some debate whether rocks are alive. And he does point out specific lichen on rocks, which I still think may be significant, but the lichen on a rock could be alive. The rock, again, may or may not be alive, depending on the camp here and there, but it left a lot open, and now I'm thinking maybe it's not a tree, because I think we'd all agree that a tree is alive, but I'm not sure.
I think that is the takeaway there, is anything that you would absolutely say, oh yeah, that's alive, there's no question about it. That's what you can rule out. And so, then what's left is like we can debate about, but anything that we could say absolutely nobody would quibble if this is alive, those things we know are off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But how helpful is that? We can kind of eliminate something. I love that.
Well, and it depends on your background, your interpretation depends on your cultural background, your religious background, spiritual background. I mean, there's wide interpretations of what people consider living in nature. So I don't know if it rules anything out, Emma. Okay. I don't know.
It ruled out like two things for me, at least. Trees. Scott wants it to be trees, and it ruled trees out for me. Just so you know.
It's not a tree, everybody.
It's treeless.
Hot step.
Now that makes me want it to be a tree.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jam's not here. Rob's going to take his place. Okay. You probably think it's also a Tucker. Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
Actually.
Dear baby Jesus. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I like this. Danger Close says this. He says human mythological machine. So very interesting, and actually makes me think about when she asked the question about the biggest takeaway from the hunt, and he made that comment about how he created the hunt, and then he went in and he said, we built machines that feed us our own anger because rage clicks louder than love. The algorithm's greatest trick was convincing us that understanding each other was the enemy of being right. The revolution isn't choosing a side, it's remembering we were never meant to be on sides at all. I was just like, that was kind of huge for me, because again, he's saying, I guess the thing is, obviously I read into it. It turns out I'm a treasure hunter, and that's what we do. So when I read into it, I think he's just, I felt like obviously he's talking about how he didn't take that into account. I don't think he really thought that, I think he knew that people would potentially come after him like that, the way that kind of, that they get so angry about it. But that's kind of why we're doing this tonight. It's we don't have to be angry about things. We could choose to have a little patience, and everybody's going to get to see word for word what was said in the next day or so, or a few days. It's her content. She could literally, if we don't behave ourselves, she could literally decide to hold on to it for months and months or years, or never post it. So I think that the one thing I loved about that, it was an opportunity to ask yourself how you want to hunt, how you want to be perceived, and how you want to behave when you're doing something that for me is a secondary profession. For Jam's now a full-time treasure hunter and a part-time IT guy. Froggy, I don't know. Like, how do you feel about all that?
So the chat was moving really quickly, but there was the chat was moving really quickly. There was a few things that popped up. Jamie made an excellent point about perspective, and then I forgot the gentleman's name. Sam Dunham. Also, obviously we can't do all this tonight, but I think when we're talking about the bride and alive, it's important to remember the context and what new information we have. So I had pulled up the statements from Dylan, but I don't. Everyone's probably already read it, so I don't want to waste our time by reading it out loud. But I think it's good to compare and contrast the Dylan statement and answer to the new statement and answer, and I think you might be able to get a little bit of insight. But yeah, definitely, click love, choose love. I really liked. Was that a quote from? Was that original JP?
I'm pretty positive that's an original JP.
I didn't get a chance to search it, but if that's an
I'm
original
pretty
JP,
positive, and he actually posted it today again on his X and all of his
Facebook.
socials.
Yeah, I saw
it's
that.
on
That's really good. It feels like something he's been thinking of. It almost feels like a little crazy Newt conspiracy here, but we're getting a sneak peek at round 2.
Right. Well, and they asked him, "Would you do another treasure hunt?" Sorry, I was looking like I'm trying to find that spot on my notes, and he basically said he's going to have to wait and see how this one turns out, right? He's learning what to do right and what to do wrong from this one. I mean, he'd already learned so much stuff from Forrest, and then now here he is.
But that sounds like a departure from earlier, where it sounded like it was just a one and done originally. That was like his plan, but now he's maybe changed his mind a little bit.
I also thought it was cool how he said if somebody was wanting to rehide the treasure after that, he would help them. I thought that was really cool.
Right. I thought that, I mean, is anybody surprised by that? Because I'm certainly not surprised by that. I do think that this goes to talk about Dustin says, all you need is love and a dog. And obviously that's a nod to the potential clues within, Golden Greed. I did think one thing that was pretty interesting that we haven't really talked about is Sandal was really frustrated. She almost didn't participate because the show was called Golden Greed. And she couldn't reconcile for herself how she can get behind gold. And I love that about her. But the greed part felt very uncomfortable for her. She's absolutely a person of energy. She's absolutely a person of positivity. So that word greed, she couldn't really get behind it. So for her, she decided, and that kind of, I think, prompted that question about she talked about hiding it, and did she think that the people would rehide it? For her, she actually said this morning on her coffee talk that she would, for her personally, if she found the treasure, keep one single item, and anybody who had given her substantial clues that helped direct her that way, she'd let them get a item, and then she would hide the rest. And I thought that's how she got around the greed of it, and I thought that was pretty. Oh, and the Bitcoin, she would keep the Bitcoin, which come on, I get that. That's pretty substantial, right? On why, and it's just interesting the perspective people have when they were watching the show and how that show impacted them. I wanted to make sure I said that because I don't know that people really kind of clued in on that being a big deal to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was even one of her questions for Justin, what he thought about the title. And I think he answered it gracefully that it's maybe not what he would have chosen, but understands kind of why they went with it, just for the shock and awe to kind of grab people in. But I agree. I always thought it was not the title I would have chosen either. I feel like there was actually a lot of heart and adventure. Maybe Golden Adventure would have been a better title. There didn't seem to me to be a lot of greed, especially within kind of the 4 main characters and including the Hearst, but maybe with some of the other people that weren't featured in the documentary. But it's
right.
I feel like that's not even what I got out of the documentary at all.
Right. And it was interesting because the people that they chose were not people who you would see as greedy. Right. Mm-hmm. And at the end, every single person was like that when they're like, well, you didn't find the treasure. They're like, sure I did. Like Cynthia says, sure I did. Like my friends, my relationships, all the time in the outdoors. I mean, you can't take that. You can't take the experience away. It becomes a portion of the treasure in and of itself. Right.
Absolutely. I think that's what we're all taking from it too. I think everyone's enjoying the experience, and it doesn't seem, so many people I hear all the time in Discord, it's not about finding the gold, and maybe it was right in the beginning because it's exciting, but as you go out and you search, it's fun to explore and learn history and have the adventures and the memories.
Right. Well, and you live that every time you go out with your boys. Like you and Max literally personify that, you know. And all Dom Day is right. She did say that she would use the Bitcoin to help create the book and a poem. I mean, the reality is she literally travels the U.S. in her car with her dog Falcor. Obsessed with Falcor. And there is a cost to that too. There's nothing wrong with her taking something from this, in my opinion, if she was to do it, because as a person who runs a show myself, I can tell you there's absolutely a cost to do all these things. I would hope that she'd do something for herself. She certainly is giving back a lot, right? But she's very selfless. I doubt that she would do anything more than what's necessary. Okay, does anybody else want to talk about a specific topic here?
I was just going to bring up one of the questions that was asked. I don't remember the exact question, but about the clue. I think it was if the clue and the song had to do with the songs in the audiobook versus the series. And I don't think he really answered that, but says there is one definitive clue,
right,
in the A song or in the songs. And it just seemed like maybe it's a bigger clue than we thought, or more obvious.
I think it was extremely definitive, wasn't it? I think he said
I thought so too.
Yes.
How much more definitive can it be?
Yes.
Right. He said extremely definitive hint in one of the songs. And I thought that, and I could be wrong. Please don't, we'll have a video at some point that will tell us. I thought that what he had said, what the question was, is what was more important, which was more important, the songs in the series versus the songs in the audiobook. And he didn't really answer that part, but then he said that there was the definitive clue in gosh, it's like, again, it's like word salad.
Yeah, I think I thought that was very interesting to point out how he said, I like to look at the smaller words. In is a very extremely definitive clue in one of the songs. So in my line of thinking, I immediately think the arcade song, since I feel like if there isn't a clue in that song, it just seems odd that he would be a writer and there not be a clue in there. So it's, being a writer allows him some sort of creative control on that song.
Right.
Yeah, there was a good discussion in Discord yesterday about that. People were talking about, most of the songs in the audio, they're just, they're instrumental. There's no words to them whatsoever. So unless, and I think it was Jess even that was talking about it, that she's a musician, and unless you're an expert in that field, it would be really hard to figure out what the clue in an instrumental is versus you've got a set of lyrics here, and some of obviously the lyrics with "My compass no longer spins true." I think a lot of people probably think that that's probably the clue he was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And again, I'm looking for logic and reason, right? And it's ironic because I'm always like, throw that logic out the door. Let's just move on. But I'm looking for logic and reason. And that's something I can apply logic to that and get to that same spot.
If we are kind of closing things soonish, not right now. Newt has all the time in the world. But one of Justin's high points of the hunt, right? He was asked about kind of a high and low. Can't speak about the low, but the high, it's the family that had never been camping, right?
Yes.
And that's what really got him all gnarly and chuffed, right? So I think that's pretty good. We can get a little bit of insight about the man, how he thinks, what he values.
Would you like to talk about your hot dog shirt and what that story was? I think you're a perfect person to bring it up.
It's it speaks for itself. Hot dog eating champion. I was on a panel of, top hot dog eating people in the world, and I won. So
Okay. So should we address the other elephant in the room, which is the raw dogging, which I didn't know what it was and I had to look it up, and now I'll have that in my phone search forever. Mortified
Your
that
algorithm
he
is ruined.
they're like, she's definitely not the girl we thought she was. And now there we go, right? Look at Scott going. But that said, I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that Justin is the kind of guy because Justin's the kind of guy who, when Sandal asked him, "Can I tell this story, the raw dogging story?" I can't believe I keep saying it over and over.
RD,
But
the RD story.
yeah, it goes. He's like, yeah, of course. He's so okay with like just taking the hits and like being laughed at. He's just so comfortable in his own skin. But I mean, how funny is that to say something over and over in front of people, and then certainly in a professional setting, you think you're saying something like that, and then you find out what it really is. He had to be mortified when he found out that he said that he raw dogged it the whole time over in a taxi. I just can't believe how insane that is. Oh my gosh, Jam.
Innocent Justin, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, here's the thing, like Dominique, he's that guy. I mean, you've met him, you know, he's that guy. He's gonna poke fun at himself before anybody else pokes fun at him any day of the week. And the reality is, he thinks it's hilarious because it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious once I knew what I was laughing at. I'm like, ha 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 ha. Wait, what? And then I was dying. I was like crying. I was laughing so hard. And again, worried about my algorithm. But you know, it just goes to show who we're hunting for, right? This is his hunt. This is his hunt. And he's gonna do it his way, and we're all gonna laugh or else. For sure. Okay, hold on. So, okay, so it says it's great how Justin's hunt brought people together, got outside, and created a unified discourse. I love it. Like, I think that that's the most important thing for me. That's the treasure. I get to spend time with my brother every single day. And I will tell you, Jam's been my best friend my whole life. Sorry, Scott, don't take that wrong. Jam's been my best friend my whole life, but there probably the last 2 years prior to getting back into this, we were not talking every day. We weren't even talking every week at that point, you know, because life happens and life gets busy. And he's got young children, and all my kids are grown and gone. And I work a couple hours a week. And so like what a true treasure that hunting has given me back. That's how I feel about it. Um poor Huli's like, didn't hear the story, only the punchline. Huli, that will be worth waiting to see the video. That's how I
I'll fill
feel
you
about
in.
that. Jess will help you.
There was another question during the interview. I think it was something along the lines of maybe any specialized equipment needed to retrieve the treasure, or also if it could fit in a carry-on. I think it had something to do with that. And he said specifically, you certainly don't need X-ray vision goggles.
Right.
And then he was, I feel like, really trying to figure out how to word what you do need, and kind of just kept referring back to like normal hiking gear.
Yep.
But
He actually said X-ray vision is a no.
Yes.
Hiking gear is basically a yes. And then he did confirm that everything you need could go into a carry-on bag. And now all I can think is not when I travel. Not when I travel, friends. Scott, you don't have to have an opinion. Nobody's asking you to shake your head, friend. Nobody's asking you to. I mean, I generally have at least one, sometimes two checked bags. But I'm also traveling with like drones and like, all kinds of stuff, right? But, you know,
the normal hiking gear. Who doesn't need a drone?
Right. Who doesn't need two drones? One that I can pop up to follow me, and one that I can fly around so you guys can see everything. Hold on. The waterkeeper had an interesting comment, respectfully. And I'm so sorry you have to put that because I was so cranky at the beginning. Forgive me, friend. Forgive me. This isn't his hunt. This is our hunt. He started this hunt for us. We own it, and we decide how this hunt will reflect who we are. I love that. And I'm sorry I was cranky. I'm still sorry about that. And then Daco Needles says that the animal could be a black-footed ferret. No such and then Doug is like, there's no such thing as X-ray goggles. Jeez. Wow, Doug. So did I waste my money on Amazon then? Just kidding. I didn't, I promise. What about the question, can a Prius get within a mile of the treasure? Oh, the great debate
The
question.
Prius question.
Let's go for it. Jess, do you want to field this one, friend?
I don't know. I feel like he's already. I feel like he's specified for us. It's not hard to get to where you get out to walk to the treasure. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it's like, and how many ways can he say? He's like going down. He's like, you don't need high clearance, or what's less than a Prius. How about a full-on lowrider? I mean,
And then he said a Ferrari at one point too.
right.
Remember?
I
He said
couldn't
the
hear all
Ferrari.
the audio, but I saw someone he said Ferrari. It's like, okay, you guys, we can get to this in like any vehicle. It doesn't matter what you're driving. You can get to the spot where you get out easily.
Well, and I think too that there's like qualifiers there, because the question originally about the Prius was, could my Prius take me within a mile? And that part he punted on, because he's not talking about, he's not getting super definitive and clear on where you park. Is it a mile from that spot? Which is not, I wouldn't say it's a backtrack, but it sounds a little different than when we first started. But I think that it really, like as he's starting to like come into his own and how he's answering these questions, there's just some adjustments in the verbiage we're using on things. At least that's how it feels to me.
Well, I heard Froggy yesterday, I think it was in Discord. He was talking about that Justin wants to stay away. It sounds like Justin wants to stay away from potentially telling people like the distances and stuff like that, from the standpoint that it could create like liability issues later on.
Right.
Potentially for him. And I actually think that's probably pretty right on.
And I want to clarify, Jamie's right. He did said, I'm going to punt on that one, and probably not for the reasons most people think. And I thought that was interesting, because like, what does that mean?
What are the reasons we think? Do we even know what reasons we think they are?
No, but I'll tell you what, we'll probably be tearing that apart for at least a couple more days until we get the video right.
Can we real quick go around? Everyone say the one reason why you think, and then we'll have a little bit of a.
Go ahead, get started. Tell us your reason you think, Frog or Newty.
So the reason Newt thinks is vehicle clearance. That was the first thing that Newt thought.
Right. You thought that the reason was that. What about you, Scott? What do you think the reason that he wanted to punt on it was for?
He doesn't want to give like exact distances, probably for liability reasons.
I'm going to go with Scott on the distance thing, but more just because he's said we don't need to hike more than a mile to figure out where the treasure's at. But the question wasn't about figuring out where the treasure at, it's where the treasure is.
Yeah.
And it was that clarification that he's never made any comment about that distance. And so I'm thinking that's also why he wanted to punt, or just because it was related to that specific distance.
It was kind of like putting together two different
right
talked about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sort of agreed with Froggy Newton over here at the vehicle clearance. That's probably the first thing that came into my mind.
Well, I think that, and J-Mac just said it in the chat, this is what I think as well, that it's not a place where high clearance vehicles would even go. And that's kind of what it felt like to me as well. Go ahead, Newty. Go ahead and say whatever you need to say. Are you raising your hand?
No, I was just agreeing with what fine gentleman, two gentlemen over said.
Yeah. Interesting. And unfortunately, J-Mac said this. I'm going to tell you that I've been to Dillon several times, and nobody's ever done anything but be very positive at me. So I'm not sure who's saying that they're hearing that. I've never heard that all the times I've gone. Jesse, you live in the area. Are you hearing that?
I did not hear any of that personally the times I've been down there. I mean, I've seen people talk about it on Discord and whatnot, but haven't experienced it personally, no.
Right. Okay, perfect. Well, that's good to know. But I do think it's a good reminder that when we are in other people's town, when we are visitors in a foreign land, we should behave in a way that we'd want them to behave in our land. Always think what's the right behavior. Like I'm going to take it back even a step further. If I ever got hurt out in the field, I would never admit that I'm a treasure hunter. ever, because I would hate to hurt the treasure hunting community. And so when I'm somewhere and I'm in public, I'm always behaving the very best I can because I don't ever want to misrepresent us. And also, I'm not as bad as I make myself sound on the hiking or the behaving.
I guess the one thing we did hear, because I
Mhm.
experienced it personally, is that a lot of people were speeding. So
Okay.
want to watch your speed.
But I take it back. I will be breaking the rules. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
won't.
I didn't know I was breaking the rule, but then I knew. So yeah, you just got to watch your speed coming out of the byway or wherever, because yeah, they don't want people flying through there.
I mean, this is embracing the fleeting moments. That's a really good point as well. And then, well, that's a lot of stuff. Jam tough on it with the correction and call outs. Hold on. Did Jam say something? I mean, oh, it's Newt, not Newt. Oh gosh, Newty. Okay, well, that's a lot of stuff, guys. We ran an hour. We said we were only gonna go an hour. Anybody want to throw some closing stuff out there? Anybody have anything they want to make sure is said today before we jump off?
I think it's going to be more simple than we think it is. That's what I'm going to say.
I think that that's a message you hear a lot.
Yes.
You know, I think that in addition to that, I think the poem tells you that same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Those
the
are the
poem
best
tells you.
aha moments when you figure out something that seems so simple once you know it. Those are the best puzzles.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
How does-
Well, your Prius make it round the bend. People are crazy. That's not what I was trying to grab. I was trying to grab that. I'm a closet treasure hunter. You guys are so funny. Okay, so I want to make sure that I make a commitment to everybody. I will personally try to stay in contact with Sandal and get an idea of when the video will drop. That said, the best way for you to be able to know when the videos drop is to not only is to subscribe to Sandal's YouTube channel, but also make sure that your alerts are aware. While we're talking about subscribing and you're out there, if you subscribe to us, there's no harm in subscribing to Sandal or Froggy or Calazars or Mysterious Writings, because you're not getting spammed by what you receive, which is what Jim and I used to always think about. If you subscribe to people, you're going to get spammed with their stuff. If you're putting the notification on, all you're really doing is providing yourself an opportunity to know when the new information comes. And that's what I always want. I just want to be in the know the moment the no comes, right? Okay. How about Newt? Newt doesn't have a channel. Sorry. Newt's channelless. Okay. So anything else? Anybody else want to wrap something up? That was beautiful, Jess. I think you're right. Anybody else got anything to add to the end?
If I could just, just real quick, I'd say, thank you, MF and Jam, the treasure hunt with us, community that we have going on in Discord, but everything that you guys are doing for the community. And, I really appreciate you guys, and I'm honored to be a part of this panel. I've never done anything like this. I've been super nervous this entire time. But I just
I woke you up and said, "Hey, wake up! You're going to be on a panel tonight."
Yeah, I was panicking and I had the times wrong, everything. But I'm just really glad to be a part of this, and
We're glad to have you.
It's been such a ride for me, and being able to meet everybody has been life changing for me, really, to say the least. So just wanted to express my gratitude.
Oh, you're so kind. And you're right. Like, that's the best part of this, right? This community that we didn't know we were going to be part of. And so we have this here. I mean, people are doing meetups all across the country at all times. And then, of course, Calazars is doing their treasure con for people who want to make sure that they get out there and be part of it. Rob Zeal's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Froggy, are you going to be there? Newt, are you going to be there with Froggy? Which personality is coming? Jess, are you going to treasure con?
Not that I know of.
Okay, well, you'll be vastly missed. And KK, I think you guys are coming, right?
Yeah, Max and I will be there. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. So if you haven't, oh wow, I don't know what I just did. I almost threw my iPad on the ground again. We've all seen me do that at least once before. But I would say this: if you're considering nothing changes or nothing feels better than the change you feel when you meet these people who you're communicating with regularly in person, because like literally, I've met everybody but Rob Zeal in person. I met Scott too, if I'm honest. Everybody but Rob Zeal, I've met them in person, and like I would so gladly sit down and have a meal with them. I would also gladly sit down and have a meal with Rob Zeal. Probably most of you as well, but it's different. Like I get excited, a different level of excitement as I'm getting ready to see people, and it's just fantastic. So if you have an opportunity to go to a meet and greet, if you have an opportunity to go to the con, all these things, definitely get out there and be part of it. If you're uncomfortable talking in Discord or in these chats, message us. We'll find ways. We'll connect you with some mods so you can kind of see, ways to feel comfortable. That being part of this community is probably the best thing for me. Spending time with my brother is the best thing, but the second best thing is being part of this community that I didn't know I needed so badly. Okay, anybody have anything else?
I have one question.
Go for it,
I think there's something on the mirror behind Newt that I'm so curious about what it is.
What is that, Newt? What does that say on your mirror? Still can't see it. You're gonna have to get closer, Newt. Does that say Montana or bust?
Get that off of there. Get that down right now.
What does it say?
The weather is horrible here. If you can't tell, the weather is really bad. You should not come here.
Oh my gosh! No.
Sunlight.
The best is when Jess says stuff like that, and I hear her sarcasm, and I realize, oh my gosh, people don't know that she's using her sarcastic voice right now. I'm like, no, she's playing with you. She's teasing
Was that you?
Yes, it was me. I'm like, don't change your plane tickets. You're okay. She's joking.
Never listen to me if I talk about snow or weather or the treasure being found. Don't believe anything that comes out of my mouth.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so hilarious. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Jem and I will be live with a Kelly Duarte all day giveaway on Wednesday. Froggy will be live tomorrow at 12:30. We're just going to try to continue to bring you as much information as possible. And again, go ahead and subscribe to Sandal. Once that video drops, you're going to see it immediately, and we can all talk about all this stuff all over again. Have a great day, and thanks for signing in, guys.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Emma.
Of course.